Welcome into Long Play Video. Today we're doing a little bonus episode. It's 9:30 on a Saturday morning. No one's even thinking about videos at this moment. But here we are at episode 50, halfway through the list, inexplicably still at 51 rather than 50, but we'll let that go. So this definitely solves the entire moving up and moving down debate, because obviously it is the bottom half of the list.
Yes.
So once and for all, this solves that. No more gaslighting for me, I'm afraid.
For anyone, yeah.
So yeah, this is the
little bonus.
50th, the 50 films that we've covered. Kev, just overall thoughts on the 50 films. Like, is it obviously? I don't think either of us thought we'd get to 50, but like, what have you discovered? What have you thought about the list?
Yeah. That's funny. That really sounded like a match of the day intro there. Like, you're like, so like, you're really like getting your Gary Lineker on then. Yeah, it's been an interesting. So I actually looked at reordering my list as well, and looking at that, and it reminded me then going through them, and I was like, oh yeah, we did watch some interesting films, and some of them I thought maybe after we've done the podcast and after we discussed them, maybe they should have been higher than I thought, and so they moved around a little bit. But yeah, I mean, there's some films that I would never have seen, like I mean, again, Life is Beautiful. Maybe I would have watched it, but I just hadn't heard of it, and so hadn't been exposed to it. But
I mean, Life is Beautiful is like pretty much every other film on this list whenever we do the algo. So
yeah, exactly. That's true. And then it's just, I mean, I think there were some really good things on here that I'd never seen before. And it was great, I guess, looking back at some old films that I had seen and thinking, oh yeah, that they were really good. And then you watch them and go, wow, actually, either they're not good or they really don't hold up anymore. And that was interesting. And this, I mean, Never Ending Story comes to mind, where in my childhood mind remembers this was a great movie and really good. And then we rewatched it and I was like, actually, this is pretty average. No, it's not a great film. Like, not a lot goes on, really. So it's just interesting. And yeah, I think, I mean, I look at my top 5 at the moment as it stands: Life is Beautiful, Whiplash, Night and Day, Crazy Stupid Love, and Groundhog Day. Now, the top 2 I hadn't seen before. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I can't believe the shops, up and down, busy some days, not, we found it. I found a hidden room. There's just so much stuff going on. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the top half of the 50? But what about you? I mean, is it as you expected?
I think it's been really interesting rewatching the films and doing the research into them, because despite appearances, like, I hadn't done a deep dive on all of my favorite films.
Nice.
All of this information ready to go. So yeah, no, it's been really funny. I think we've said on a few of them that watching with maybe a more critical eye to some of them, it does make you sort of question it a bit more and sort of think a bit more deeply about it and stuff. So no, I'm as I say, I think I'm not surprised, but like it's fairly positive just how many of them though I am like, this is still one of my favorite films. This should be on the list. I mean, only to lose one, I think, out of the bottom 50, I think is good, because I would say, and obviously we'll find out in the next half of the pod, but I would say that I think, as we said before, like, sort of in the 90s, there's a lot of competition for different films, because you're like, I like them, or it had an impact on me as a kid or something like that. And so you can sort of say, okay, well, you could swap out another film or something else for it. Theoretically, obviously, in the top 50, that they should be much more. And then I think probably when you get to the top 10 again, it becomes a bit more controversial, because you kind of like, well, this is a top 10 movie. It's a bit difficult. So interesting to sort of see which ones have moved the most. Well, what do you think on my list? Which ones do you remember sort of moving up the list?
I remember Beast of the Southern Wild moved up a lot, and I remember
Yeah.
that specifically because I remember thinking, yeah, I was all right about that, and I think you went massive on it. You were just like, boom, number one or something. Like I feel like you went so high on that. So, uh, so I remember that one. I'm trying to remember what other ones there were that moved up. I don't know. Like, you always trying to surprise me. So
Well, the fall was another one. I mean, yeah,
that went up a lot. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it did, yeah. Which yeah, obviously has just been re-released from 4K and IMAX and stuff. So yeah, no, that moved up, and then yeah, the Lunchbox as well because I'd only seen that
Yeah, it
once,
was a good film.
and then yeah, watched it again. Just yeah, really,
Yeah.
really loved it. Funnily enough,
Yeah.
Clueless is a very early one, moved up. I think that was 86 originally.
Okay.
Yeah, and moved into the 60s.
A big move.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
what were the ones? Do you remember the ones that moved down the most? I mean, obviously, Four Lions moved off the list, so that was the
yeah.
probably that's moved the most. But yeah, do you remember
Kiss
the
Kiss
other
Bang
ones?
Bang. Yeah, Kiss
Yeah,
Kiss Bang Bang
that didn't
plummeted,
hold up well, did
which
it?
does, which funnily enough does, it doesn't make me worried, but like does, I think it'll be interesting because there's a couple of other sort of noir movies,
Mm,
especially like this Bogart one. There's yeah, sort of a remake of a Bogart one quite high up. So that will be interesting
yeah,
because it did feel like the genre itself was yeah, was a bit questionable. And then yeah, in Bruges,
yeah,
I was talking to someone
yeah,
the other day about In Bruges, and they were like, "Oh, I love that movie." And I was a bit
yeah,
like, "Yeah, I watched it recently. I'm not sure that it really held up that much." And they were like, "Oh, you're kidding? Like, no, I watched it the
yeah.
other day. It was still great." So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm with you on that. That when I was re-looking at my list, I was like, yeah, that and it wasn't the story is actually not that great, it's not that compelling. And there's a lot of stuff in there that nowadays, I mean, even then probably was a bit controversial and that leaves a bit of a sour taste in the mouth. So yeah, I definitely for me in Bruges, like you said, I had it in my mind thinking, oh yeah, that was an okay film. And then I think we watched it and thought, that really doesn't hold up.
yeah.
Uh,
Although I think yeah, with In Bruges, keeping it on the list because I think that it is dialogue and it's almost a
yeah.
play more than anything
Yeah,
else as we spoke about kind of yeah in the
yeah,
episode. And there's still stuff I think that sort of recommends it. And then, it's favorite movies as well. So there are ones on there that, yeah,
yeah,
just sort of spoke to me at
yeah,
the time or obviously,
yeah,
remember as a kid, should BMX Bandits be higher? Who knows?
yeah,
But if
exactly.
yeah, Apocalypse Now doesn't make it onto the list, but BMX Bandits does. It's a controversial choice,
Well,
maybe, but
yeah. And then I was going to ask you that. Is there anything that you've thought of? Obviously, there was a lot of in-depth preparation, years and years went into this list, and there was a lot of information done, a lot of data downloaded, a really intricate rating system. But with that aside, is there anything that you've thought of that you thought, oh, maybe that could have been on the list, or that should have been on the list, or maybe even replace this Four Lions now?
yeah, well, I think yeah, I sort of just went through and not quickly because obviously we were prepared for this episode a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah,
but
yeah.
just
We're
sort of thought
professionals.
of
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, quit day job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah, when I sort of think about what would replace Four Lions in
Mm,
my mind, I broke it down actually into sort of four categories and then like a fifth, and that is kind of
yeah.
bad films that I love that like I know are
Yeah.
bad films, but like yeah, I just love and
Yeah.
I've watched over and over again.
Yeah.
There's a lot of classic trilogies and sort of
Mm,
series that I don't have in here. I don't have any films, Back to the Future, Lethal Weapon,
yeah.
Rocky. Like, yeah, okay, they are classic series,
Sacrilege.
and then
No
sort
Back to
of.
the Future is just,
So,
sacrilege, that
I
is.
mean, if you had Back to the Future as like number 100, would it work? And then
Well, it's
would you
better
have Back
than
to the
like
Future
not on the
or would
list.
you have Back to the Future 2? But,
No, the second one in my mind's the worst one. I prefer the third than the second.
really? No, but the
Yeah,
second you got
I
the
know that's
future.
controversial.
Yeah, you got the
I know,
future.
but the story is
But
like really average. The story's
yeah.
much better in the first and the third one. But you're
Well, when
right.
they go back to 85 in the second one, that entire
Mm,
thing's just a bit weird.
yeah,
And like the
yeah,
mum's got the boob implant and stuff. You're just like, hey, guys, come on. We just
yeah.
didn't. you didn't need
Didn't
those
work.
gags. You didn't need
Yeah.
that. And then
But
yeah,
yeah.
there are some movies that yeah, I would sort of say are favorite movies of mine that didn't make it on.
Mm,
Funnily enough,
yeah.
when I was talking to my wife about this, all of the ones that she thought would be on there were from that list. So that's
This
Office
has been
Space,
this, yeah, good.
definitely maybe The Mexican and Baby Driver.
Wow.
Those were all sort of yeah, those were all ones. And she was like, well, yeah, you really like those movies. And then I was thinking about the movies that I've seen since we started this and since like the list got
Yeah.
laminated, as it were.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of those would make it on the
No.
best films that I've seen in the last 2 years, both at home and in the cinema. I'm not sure that they would be a best
No.
ever. And then I did think about documentaries. You know, we don't have a single documentary on the list.
Oh,
And I
really
did,
interesting.
yeah, and I did sort of think, okay, well,
Yeah.
for kind of yeah, having a bit of everything, would you have a do you have a
Yeah.
documentary on there?
That's
I
season
don't know.
7. We do top 100 documentaries.
Well, I'm not much of a documentary fan, which is obviously why there's
Yeah.
none on my top 100. I would say
And then,
Bowling for
yeah.
Columbine was probably I remember watching that
Yeah.
at the cinema and just being like, I've never seen anything like this before because I didn't watch a lot of
Yeah.
documentaries at the time because you just couldn't. I mean, when you
Oh, yeah. They weren't really a
before
thing
the
as much, were
Netflix,
they?
yeah, before the
Yeah.
Netflix sort of documentary stroke propaganda things that they put
Yeah.
out, like
Mm.
I would never think to go to a cinema for a
No.
documentary. You just, yeah, just kind of wouldn't. And maybe I mean,
No.
we had the BBC, so maybe like you were a bit spoiled for
True.
non-fiction stuff with there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Bowling for Columbine definitely is the first documentary
Mm.
that I remember going to seeing and like really enjoying it. And obviously, like yeah, then Michael
Yeah.
Moore had a moment, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That was impressive.
probably not like yeah, not
No.
top 100 still.
I guess we've also, we mentioned about it's a lot of what we've mentioned around escapism and documentaries aren't really escapism, are they?
Yeah.
They're almost the exact opposite. It's like realism. It's actually pulling you more into the reality of humanity. But yeah, no, I think that's a good point. Documentaries could be interesting.
Just like favorite
Yeah.
movies of all time. Without, yeah, that's
I don't know
yeah.
if you'd put it on your favorite, right? It's so yeah.
But you know, it's also obviously favorite is also ones that have had an impact and stuff on you. But yeah, no, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. I sort of scrubbed documentary and the most recent.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, thinking about it. So the bad films
Mm.
that I love.
Yeah, what
So
have we got?
there's a film called By the Sword, which is Eric Roberts, which is
Oh yeah.
yeah, an awful
80s, 90s.
early 90s. Yeah,
Yeah.
early 90s, and it's an awful film. He's
Yeah.
basically a fencing instructor, and I mean spoilers, but the person who killed his dad has gone to jail like in a fencing match, and then he
Yeah.
comes out and gets a job with Eric Roberts, and then basically like yeah, it's sort of it comes around. I have no
Mm.
idea why, but for literally like 3 months, me and a friend of mine who we used to go babysit some kids, and we just used to get it out of the video shop every single
Yeah.
week, and we just watched it
Yeah.
again and again and again. And I watched it
How good, right?
recently.
How good is it being a kid that you can watch something continuously and never get bored of it with it? And
Just
like,
keep
how
going back
good?
to it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I watched it again recently. I bought it on DVD. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's all right. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it's an Andy movie, very, very much so. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was fine. It's
Yeah.
got the lady from Ferris Bueller in it as well. Maybe that had something to do with it when
Oh
I was
yeah.
in my
Yeah.
formative years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Action Jackson, an
Great
80s
movie.
classic. I think that was probably one of the first 18s that I watched, and that was because we had it taped from Sky, and yeah, I used to watch that. And again, I watched that
Yeah.
recently, and yeah, it's just completely stupid and over the top.
Yeah.
And actually, interestingly, I listened to I think there's a how did this get made with it on
Oh
where
yeah.
they point out that in one of the scenes, Rocky 3 is actually playing on the TV with Carl Weathers on the TV as well.
Amazing.
And they're just like, well,
Amazing.
how, like, why would you choose to have a movie on in the
Yeah.
background with
Yeah.
the main character of the film in it?
But
So,
that was a great
yeah,
thing about that film. It's like so like ridiculous, silly, like
yeah,
like tongue in cheek, like, and that's the whole thing, right? Like, it's such a
Yeah.
good. That's a great
Every
classic from the
every
80s.
every one liner has a follow up. Like every one liner that they say is then used later on
Yeah.
in the film.
Oh
They
wow.
clearly had a whiteboard and were
Yeah.
were saying, right, we'll have this
Yeah.
one liner at the start of the film. Where's it going to fit in at the end of the film?
Yeah. These are the key gags. So everyone take one away and get ready to do a response. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. What
yeah.
else then? I
Well,
guess are we
man,
sorry? So should I say before we carry on? Are we saying that the one that we're going to look to introduce into the list one of these bad movies? Is that what we're
well,
thinking?
I think it's probably a bit of a it's probably a bit of a
I'm
one
happy
from
with
each
that.
section, one from each
Yeah.
section, I
Okay.
think, and then
Okay.
like a battle for the 100th spot.
I'm going to veto documentaries. I think I'm big on them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
there's and the more recent. So I think probably out of the bad films that I love, there's others like Mannequin, Cuffs. I just always really like Cuffs. Win Win,
Mannequin.
which I think
What's
came
that?
up when we were talking because there was
Oh yeah.
recently
Yeah.
because there was four films that I went to see. There's a
Yeah.
film called Life as a House, which is Kevin
Sounds
Kline and
terrible.
Hayden Christensen, the
Yeah.
old Darth
Yeah.
Vader movie that actually I watched when I went to Australia
Wow.
many years ago, and I just went to the cinema. I think maybe it was the first time I'd ever been to the cinema by myself, and it wasn't a great film, but like that experience just really sort of stayed with me going to the cinema in Australia
Yeah.
sort of by myself. And then also
Nice.
there's a film called Red Belt, which really stayed with me. It's a sort of judo movie.
These movies, I
Yeah,
feel
it's a
like
good
there's no
question.
more Andy movies left in the world, and somehow you still find more. Like,
Well,
how is
this
it
was
possible?
yeah. Well, this is I mean, this we talked about this actually in
You
Serenity
talked about
because
this,
actually
yeah,
it's a Chiwetel Ejiofor movie.
yeah,
So, that's probably how I found it.
yeah. Okay,
But yeah, that was a really good one. Finally, that's on my watch list at the moment, so I do want to go back and watch
yeah,
it. But from those, it's probably Action Jackson. I would say that
yeah.
that
Good
goes from
choice.
from those movies
Yeah,
for the
nice.
trilogy and series. So yeah, Back to the Future, Lethal Weapon 2. I
And
think
so hold on. So we're saying the whole trilogy goes in,
no, it'd just be like one
just
of them.
one of them. Okay, all right,
Yeah,
all
can't
right.
can't start
Let's.
cheating the list.
I mean,
Lethal Weapon
it's your
2.
list. You can do what you want with it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's only
No ring,
100.
no rules. What would Eric Roberts do?
Best of the Best 2 is it is a really good film.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did.
Mm.
Yeah, Best of the Best 2, just again, like just a random movie I think I saw on Sky once. Just so funny when they're sort of doing a death match and then they're bringing it in. Rocky 4 out of the Rockies.
Oh
Yeah, I was
yeah.
always the Rocky 4 fan. Like I
Yeah.
think
I
I
was
think
never
I've just
really a
seen
Rocky
Rocky.
fan.
I think I've just seen Rocky 4 a lot, and it's just so
Yeah.
over the top.
That one. Who's the baddie in that one?
Dolph. It's
Oh,
the
it is.
America
Okay.
versus Russia one. They solved the Cold War. I don't know if you know that in
Yeah.
history, but yeah,
Yeah.
because if he can change and you can change, if you've not seen the film, you don't know that quote
Wow.
as well.
Probably
Yeah,
seen
and
it because
then
it would all have been on, but I wasn't really a fan of the Rocky films. Bit too. I just didn't really. I don't know. I don't know if I don't like boxing or what. Maybe I just was secretly more an Arnie fan and I didn't really know it. And so subliminally, my mind wouldn't let me watch any Sly films.
Kindergarten Cop is top 10 movie in the second
It's
series. No spoilers.
it is.
Yeah, and then Lethal Weapon 2. The Lethal Weapon movies, I think, especially
Mm,
sort of watching them originally and sort of,
yeah.
they're like cop movies and stuff. And then you watch them
Mm.
again and they are really quite dark.
That's the one with. Is that the one with Joe Pesci in?
Yeah, yeah.
With
The
Weapon 2.
South
Yeah, yeah,
Africans as the
yeah.
as
Oh,
the
nice.
baddies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but you
yeah,
yeah, I mean classic apartheid South Africans who can
yeah,
argue with them as baddies. Yeah, and then sort of Back to the Future. It's difficult. Out of those,
yeah. I mean, I know where I'd go, but
I think yeah, I
don't let
mean
me influence you.
you got season 2. I think I would do Lethal Weapon 2
Yeah, okay.
out of those.
Wow. Interesting.
I know you and Marty will be disappointed.
Yes.
And then so then out of the sort of the films that I love, so Office Space. You ever seen Office Space?
Yeah. Mm.
So I hadn't actually put Office Space on because it is, I think it barely gets to an hour and 20 minutes. So I was always kind of I
It
was always
doesn't feel
kind of
like a film to you.
yeah, it doesn't quite sort of make it. But funnily enough, when I was talking to one of my
Mm.
friends, and when I first mentioned the list, they said, "Well, Office Space is obviously on there," and I was like, "No, because it's just sort of comes in short." But it is a very
Yeah.
funny movie. Yeah, but yeah, it's just that little bit too short. It just feels like an extended TV
Yeah.
episode.
These are all TV episodes.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Definitely maybe as an out and out rom com. As
Oh, this sounds
just
like an
like.
awful romantic
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
film
it's
that I
Ryan
won't have
Reynolds.
seen.
Yeah, it is. It's very cheesy, but yeah, it just has
It
a
says, just to clarify, so everyone knows where we're at, if you've not seen this film, on the DVD cover, it says, from the makers of Notting Hill and Love Actually, two reasons not to watch this film.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
So the reason why in this there's just one. So it's basically he's telling a guy is sort of telling his daughter about like his essentially sort of his love life before she was around. So they get like a sex education lesson in
yeah,
school, and then
yeah,
like they're all coming out like. All these kids are sort of coming out saying to their parents, like, what's going on? Like, what? You never told me any of this. Like, you don't tell me
yeah,
you do this and stuff like that. And then, so then he explains, he changes the names, but basically explains that there's sort of these three girls in his
mm,
life, ladies in his life
nice,
throughout the 90s. And he works for the Clinton campaign and stuff. So it was really sort of, it does have
yeah.
a lot of like classic 90s references in it. And
This
then
sounds like it's
there's what
starting to swing into the documentary section. This might be, this might be,
it really
yeah,
isn't.
yeah,
But well though yeah they
definitely,
do sort of yeah.
maybe.
Well they talk about Clinton getting impeached and they like watch the impeachment and then that classic
Yeah,
line of well it really depends what your definition of is and like he just
yeah,
throws his food at the TV because it just annoys
yeah,
him so much and I think it does actually speak to like the disappointment of Clinton when everyone thought that oh
yeah,
okay yeah you know we've won the Cold War and then the 90s are going to be awesome and actually it didn't quite pan out that way. But there's one
yeah,
great bit in it where he's talking about one of the ladies comes back from traveling to like to see him and the like the I think she's like a 10 or 11-year-old girl who's actually the girl
yeah.
from Little Miss Sunshine so she's really good in it and she says oh because she's in love with you and the dad's like what and she's like yeah because she came back to see you and you just
Oh
see him
wow.
go oh I'd never thought about that and
Yeah.
it's just yeah it's I think it's just such a funny and innocent yeah sort of thing.
Well, it sounds like one good scene, so I'm glad I don't have to watch that movie now. Thank you.
You would not like that movie,
No.
but that's fine. The third one is The Mexican. Have you seen that? Julia Roberts, Brad Pitt. It's kind of stylized. It's very again, it's pretty cheesy, but
yeah,
actually, and funnily enough, so I have a friend who's a film critic, and he has his own podcast, and he sort of yeah, very eclectic taste. And
yeah,
I asked him for the 50 films for last year or maybe the year before. I said, oh, okay, well, you know, can you recommend 50 films?
yeah.
Can you recommend 5 films and like we'll give you one of the categories? And I sent him the list of films from the year before, and The
Yeah.
Mexican was one of the rewatching ones, which I gave a 9 out of 10. And he
Wow.
almost stopped talking to me
Yeah.
because he was
As
like,
he should.
this is just an awful movie.
Imagine if
But
he had
yeah,
to do this podcast. He would.
he wouldn't last long.
I mean, Brad Birds, this isn't sounding like
Yeah.
it's filling me full of joy to put on this list.
It's no, it's it's a fun movie. It's again,
Yeah.
it's not like a. I mean, there is romance in it. Obviously, I always forget that, but
Yeah.
it's not like a rom com. It is,
Well,
yeah. But
we
it's
have,
like
if
a.
anything we've learned over the last 50 episodes is that you do not know what the definition is of a rom-com.
There's only
So
one
let's not worry
rom
about
com
that.
on the list, and that was Wedding
Yeah.
Singer. It's the last one we did. No, but I like the Mexican. It's funny. It's over stylized, and it's good. And then
All right.
the fourth one from that would be Baby Driver, Edgar
See,
Wright.
yeah, now we're talking. Yeah,
And
this is a
I went
great
to
film.
see Baby Driver. I went along with my wife and one of my friends, and I was like, "Oh, you want to come and watch this?" And he was like, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, you know what? I think you'll really like it." And he
Yeah.
went in it not knowing anything about it, and
Oh,
afterwards
amazing.
admitted that he thought it was the Boss Baby movie, like the animation, the animation one.
Oh, which equally good movie, but not a little bit different content. Yeah.
But
Wow.
he actually he was just like, wow, I really loved that movie. Like it was really great.
Yeah.
Like yeah,
Such a good
really
movie.
really enjoyed it.
And you
And
said, didn't you,
so
that if you listen to it with headphones in, that we
yeah,
won't give any spoilers away, but the main guy in it, who's a driver, he's often listening to music. And if you listen to the film with headphones, one of the headphones is always playing the music that he's listening to.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
that's
yeah,
pretty
yeah. And
awesome,
it
isn't it?
won like loads of Oscars for the sound. And
Yeah,
Edgar Wright, kind of when he
yeah,
even first sort of got in touch with everyone, apparently everyone, he was like, "This is you should listen to this while you're reading the script." And it
nice.
is just, I mean, it's a dance, isn't it? Like there's so many
Yeah,
the choreography of the car chases and kind of
yeah.
everything. The one thing about Baby Driver that kind of that lets it down,
Mm,
I feel, is the
yeah,
ending
yeah. Okay,
that is
don't
just a
give it
bit
away.
weak.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
think it's too. Yeah.
it
Ah.
just yeah, I just
Don't worry
I
too
think
much
it lets
about
it
it.
down.
You got the rest of it. The ending's only a 2 minute final
Yeah,
piece.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
So
what's gonna
I
go
would
in then?
probably out of those, I would probably put Baby Driver down.
Yes. So there we
Yeah, it would
go.
probably be between the Mexican and yeah, but no, Baby Driver. So we've got Action Jackson, Lethal Weapon 2, and Baby Driver. So I feel
Yeah.
like this is a good number
Yeah.
100. Their action, they're like yeah, not thinking much. I feel like it's also good that this wasn't already my number 100 because otherwise listeners
Yeah.
of the show would have got a very different idea of what the rest of the show was, considering that
Yeah.
we started with the artist
Yes. So
rather than
people knew what the benchmark was set really low and obscure and got worse. Yeah.
I feel like that was good because otherwise people might think it was more mainstream than
For
it
me as
was.
well. It prepared me
Yeah,
for
exactly.
the
Yeah,
onslaught that was
yeah.
Serenity.
Suddenly, it just provides you for yeah, just made you aware of what it's going to be.
Yeah.
So out of
And
those
so,
three, yeah,
yeah.
I'd probably put Baby Driver in
Yeah, Baby
out
Driver
of
is the
those
best out of
three.
those three, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah,
Interestingly, so
okay,
there's two in the 80s, right? So Live Weapon 2 and
yeah.
Action Jackson are both from the 80s. And then Baby Driver's what, 2000s? I think
2010s actually.
2017. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so
Yeah,
much longer. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
nice. Baby Driver's a good film. I do like that.
exactly. Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
Baby Driver's going in. We should,
Mm.
obviously, we won't do another episode of it. But interestingly,
Yeah.
like how sure am I that nothing in the top 50? I don't
Is
think
gonna
anything in the top
drop?
50 would drop out.
No, that would
Funnily
be
enough,
madness. If that happens,
that
I'm leaving this podcast.
there was one that actually I took out
Yeah.
since we
Oh,
started the
okay.
pod,
A
and
little
that
rework
was
of the list.
yeah, that was
What was
Leon.
that?
Yeah.
Wow. Leon's a great
As, soo-
film.
as soon as you start doing any research about Leon,
Not good.
it's not, yeah, it's, and yeah, obviously Leon, yeah, just about, there is another
Yeah.
Luc Besson movie in the top 50, and I thought two of them was maybe pushing it a bit much. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think obviously there's four slots open still in
Yeah.
the bottom 50.
Well, I should have said to you actually, I forgot to remind you this, but there was a request from Freddie and Woody for you to do your top five Marvel films. So so it's a
Just
shame that we didn't
there's
get
only
round
one of
to
them.
that. Yeah. Yeah. That just had the
Yeah,
final one.
the extended Marvel universe was not a category for considered for getting into the 100. But
Yeah.
yeah,
People are going to be disappointed.
there are four slots in the bottom 50 that obviously
Yeah.
something from the top 50 will have to go in. So
Yeah.
that would be
And then
interesting.
so the movers and shakers. So yeah, so the three highest movers you had, they were, so you said it was
Oh,
Beat Samus
the
of Ours,
lunchbox
yeah.
and the Fool,
Yeah, wow, yeah. Yeah,
because
nice. That's really
they
cool.
all went like top 40, I think. So
Yeah. Kiss and Beast of Southern Wild went really high, right?
yeah, well, that's
Super
25
high.
from
From
95 to
95,
25.
70
Yeah,
places.
yeah,
Gigantic. You're gonna regret
yeah.
that.
I
Well,
don't know. That's I watching it. It's just yeah, it's just awesome.
yeah. I did actually, I finally put Attack the Block in my list.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, because I actually, when I was redoing this, I redid it all and then I got 49 and I was like, oh no, don't tell me Andy was right. That whole 50 and 51 business. That's actually there's a I was like, how has this happened? I know the maths. I got the whiteboard out. I've done it. And then I remembered that I hadn't put Attack the Block in. Weirdly enough, or just massively anticlimactically enough, is I put it in it's fallen in at number 25 in my reworked list, which is basically right in the middle. So there you go. But
Is that
yeah,
in good or
I'd say
okay?
that was in the okay section. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've
Yeah.
reworked your list completely, have you?
I reworked yeah, and was saying
Well,
that
don't
I
go over
read
to the website, Freddie and Woody especially, because
I'm not gonna change my list now, but I was just like I reworked it based on rewatchability. And then I was like,
okay.
okay, so if I was going to rewatch these, how would I then rate the list? So I'm going to still keep the same list as I've got. I'm not going to change that. But I was like, if I was going to watch it purely on rewatchability, what would happen? And yeah, there was some big movers. I actually, weirdly enough, you had Kiss Kiss Bang Bang moving down a lot. I actually had it moved up a bit because I was like, it's Val Kilmer was very, very good in it. I was thinking, you know what, he is good. I did enjoy him,
Rich man.
but exactly. And guess what else moved up to the top three? And this was purely, I did this, as we know, doing the comparison double header, comparing one with the other, as
Oh,
per.
okay.
Thank you, AI. And at number three, pops in Limitless. There you go. I, I can't get away from it. But
What started as a top 10 movie and then moved out of your top 10 and quite far. And then, I mean,
so yeah,
again, yeah, it is the rewatchability, isn't it? Because it's just such a great premise.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's
And the
you
ones
know,
that sort of
it's
went
very
down are
Brewster's
ones.
Millions.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, it's I still love the concept of it, and I'd love them to do
Yeah.
another film on it. Like the idea is of using 10% of your brain, and you can suddenly use more of it. And Bradley Cooper's very good in it, and Robert De Niro as well. Yeah, I think it is a good movie. So yeah, and yeah, I guess weirdly, like the ones as you expect, the ones that went down a lot were ones that aren't necessarily hugely rewatchable. So things like Whiplash, Malcolm X, huge great films, but I wouldn't, you're not going to be putting them on every weekend.
Yeah.
It's a big heavy film. Weirdly, The Princess Bride actually went down quite a lot as well.
Okay.
I don't know why. Just when in the comparison, it just sort of fell. So
Just one of those things, isn't it, where you probably if it's on, you're going to watch it because
yeah,
it's good fun, but are you going to choose to
yeah,
put it on over other films?
yeah. And
I
then
get
one
that.
of the things I want to chat with you then. So my top three ended up being Crazy Stupid Love, Night and Day, and Limitless. Now,
Yeah.
Crazy Stupid Love already had pretty high as Night and Day. Limitless moved up quite a bit. Night and Day, I've got pretty high on my list. I feel like you need to watch it again. I think it needs to move up your list more.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you know what? Every time that I sort of think about where on the list,
yeah,
there's quite a lot of movies where I'm like, I'd rather watch Night and Day than this movie.
exactly. You've got it at 89. It's still like so
Yeah.
low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually, I was thinking, yeah, when I was looking through the list, I was going to swap some. I was going to like
Ooh,
give
nice.
myself three swaps
Yes. Nice.
to do. So
Yeah.
you know what? Yeah,
What have we
you'll
got
love this
first?
one,
Go on.
and it is Night and Day. So Night and Day currently at number 89, and I thought I
Yeah.
would swap that with The Visitor,
Oh, joy, joy, joy.
which is at number 77. because I would rather watch
Yeah.
Night and Day than The Visitor any day of
The
the week.
Visitor's just, yeah, not a good film. There's no way around it. Yeah.
Yeah, the other one, funnily enough, Be Kind Rewind moved
Yeah.
up quite a lot when we first
Yeah.
watched it.
Uh,
I feel like that was pretty generous. I moved it
Yeah.
up from 97 to 76, and I think that was
Yeah.
that was maybe too
Yeah.
much. So I thought I'd switch that actually with Moneyball, because I did really like Moneyball
Interesting.
again
Yeah.
when I watched that, and that was at 84. So yeah,
Okay, and
thought
that
thought
goes up
that
to
would do.
76 now.
Yeah, and then Be Kind
Nice.
Rewind drops down to 84. And
Ooh.
then maybe somewhat controversially, the last one that I was going to move up was in place of The Empire Strikes Back, which we've just done,
Yeah,
which kind
okay.
of stayed in the 50s,
I think
stayed in the
you
50s
and I think you kept it in there for
sentimentally.
nostalgia. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Like
for
when you
sure.
rewatch
Yeah, yeah.
it, it's not really a great film.
Yeah. Yeah. But like which I'll accept, but like
Mm,
what
the
nostalgia?
nostalgia.
Like there
Yeah.
there
Oh,
there is
yes.
an insurmountable amount of
Yeah.
nostalgia in there.
And your brother always you had the figurines or figures, whatever, and you guys always used to play with them so that you were immersed in that Star Wars
Yeah.
universe. So I get it. It would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
huge nostalgia for you.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Which is why all of the Star Wars ones are in the list, because
Yeah.
again, like I don't remember ever having not
Spoilers.
seen them. I think we've talked about it at length over
Yeah,
two
I
different
think
episodes, one of which we
uh,
didn't actually publish because the
yeah,
sound was so rubbish. So
I think both of our fans know that they're all three of them are on there.
the whole
Yeah,
listenership knows that they're
yeah.
on there. Yeah. So actually, when
Okay.
I was looking through the list, I thought again, Kubo and the Two Strings.
Nice.
I
Yeah,
did really love that movie, and I think it
yeah,
visually just something that is completely
yeah.
different. I think they're actually going to re-release it as well, because they just re-released Coraline in the cinemas and made a lot of money from it. So I'm fairly sure they're going to go through their back catalogue and now
Amazing.
bring out Kubo and
Yeah,
the Two Strings. So if
good
we switch
shout.
those around, Empire Strikes Back falls to 73, which is
Yes.
still, top three
All right.
quarters. And
Look at you with your
Kubo,
maths.
I've been doing a lot with Poppy, and Kubo moves up to 54, which I think is,
Much
it's still
better.
strong. Like, yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
I really like it. I think visually it's just stunning. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So,
That's the great
so
news.
those,
Actually, so
yeah, those
funnily
were the
enough,
ones.
when I went through it, like I said, we use that tool where it can compare one film versus
Yeah,
another, and it gets you to keep going, and it eventually ranks them for you, just doing one
yeah,
double header against another. So you never really know where they're going to come out. Like it doesn't say, oh, this is now going to be 4, this is going to be 50. So Kubo and the Two Strings, I originally had in my list number 6, and in my rewatchable list, it still comes out at number 6. There you go.
yeah. Nice.
So
The
no
problem, the
change.
problem with those, and I actually did the top 50 in the same one, is that
Yeah.
there needs to be a progress bar, because after about 5 minutes of comparing two movies, you're just like, is this doing anything? Or am I going to be sat here for the rest of the day comparing these
Yeah.
movies? Yeah, no, I did the same. And funnily enough, Beasts of the
Mm.
Southern Wild, The Fall in the Lunchbox,
Yeah.
My Neighbor Totoro, and Malcolm X. So that was the top five,
Interesting.
which is pretty accurate. And
Yeah.
then Gifted, Night and Day, Labyrinth, Clueless, and Princess Bride with the rest of the
Yeah.
top 10.
I think,
So
yeah,
again,
looking through the list and reworking it, I actually, and obviously we've done this fairly recently, but I think I was really surprised with Labyrinth. I think it's definitely in my top
yeah, holds
section,
up.
like
Yeah,
top. It really holds up still, and
yeah,
considering how old it is, it's so impressive at how much it holds up. Like I
yeah,
think it's a very impressive film, and even obviously we talked about the puppets and that, and then you've got David Bowie in it. I just think that, yeah, that film was really done well in my mind. I
yeah,
think,
yeah. Well,
yeah.
and also obviously, yeah, watching it with my daughter, and like she still liked it, and like,
Mm,
thought it was really good.
yeah.
Again, it was just sort of, it's more of a kids movie, having watched Princess Bride with her, but then you do have the torture scene, and that was a bit much for her, even
Yeah.
though obviously it sort of played for laughs a bit. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, Labyrinth really does
It's a
stand up.
it's a
I,
brilliant
I
one.
would say,
Yeah.
when I was going through the numbers, there were 4 films that didn't move, when I say so, not too
Yeah.
many. I know that in a previous episode you were like, nothing ever stays in the same place.
And then you were gaslighting me saying it all stays in the same
Yeah,
place.
it's always so 4 out of 50 isn't
Uh,
that many.
I know.
But
Yeah.
but yeah,
What were the
here
four?
we
Do
are.
you got them?
Four
Bands?
that stayed in the same place. Yeah, Life of Brian, which was when we had that conversation.
Okay.
Philadelphia stayed at 64. Yojimbo stayed at 70 because of the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
significance of the 10. And then yeah, Death Camp, Zen Death Camp, spring, summer,
Murderers camp.
fall, winter, and spring. Yeah, that
Mm,
stayed at 85. So
yeah. So there
yeah,
you are.
yeah,
So we've done it. We've done the bottom half, and now, as ever with the top of the pops, we now make it into the top 10/50.
yeah, yeah.
Here we go.
I think there's quite a few of these. There's more of these that you've seen. I think
Yeah.
when we went through the list, there's definitely more that you've seen, but then there are some.
Yeah.
There's quite
Clangers.
a few that you haven't seen as well. What is
Yeah.
there something in the top 50 full spoilers that
Mm.
you have seen and that you're worried about being in the top 50 that you think like that should just never ever be top 50?
So is in like I'm worried about like whether it still stands up, or I'm worried about your sense of mind and why on earth it would actually
Yeah,
be
I
in the
mean
top
I
50.
mean either really.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I'm always worried about your sense of mind. So that's that's just to go for broke. I mean, the ones I haven't seen, obviously, I can't say anything about because I don't really
Yeah,
know. So I
yeah,
can't.
yeah.
But ones I have seen, I'm just looking through it now. I don't think there's really anything. I mean, there's some good ones on here. No, I think these all look pretty good. I think you were obviously a little bit drunk when you did the bottom half. The top half looks a lot more in line with what I would expect from someone who knows about films. So no, these all look all right actually.
There's a couple of classics that you haven't seen, I would say. And I would say there's one particular Andy movie in there that I think will be interesting
Yeah.
to see what you think. That comes up in the next few weeks or so. That's definitely this
Oh
year, but
yeah.
yeah. Well,
Interesting. Yeah.
here we go.
All right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should strap ourselves out.
Yeah.
Someone's just come in the shop. Some people are coming back in. We've got to do some work.
Oh no. Then I'll be like, where's Andy again? Disappeared.
It's my tea break actually, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna go. But yeah, well, thanks. Thanks for listening. Thanks for coming on
Yeah.
this cinematic journey with me, Kev. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. It's been fun.
Yeah.
So
It's been
we
enjoyable.
go, yeah, we go into the top
The
50 and
top
see what
half.
moves up and down, and
Yeah. I
see
can't
where we are
wait.
this time in a year.
Yeah. Like in theory, because like in the bottom half, I think you were like, yeah, I don't know, maybe some of these films aren't that great. I don't know. But top half, this is your top 50 films. So I
Yeah,
feel there's gonna be some fight back. It's gonna be
there's
Return
there's
of the Jedi.
there's definitely now, like, because your expectations have raised. I've said this in the last few
Yeah.
weeks that you're like, this isn't a 90, this isn't an 80, this is like the
Yeah.
top 50s. So yeah, now we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna
Here we
defend
go.
every film to the to
It's
the
gonna
hilt,
it's gonna
and
be
then at the
big.
and then at the end of
Yeah.
the episode be like, yeah, no, it's not very good, is
Yeah,
it?
exactly. It's a good point. It really doesn't hold up, does
Well, now, I mean,
it?
now we have Lethal Weapon and Action Jackson
Yeah.
just sat there
Just waiting.
waiting to see
Yeah.
if they get on their list.
Yeah.
Mel Gibson doesn't have a lot else to do, so they're just sat there waiting to
Yeah.
see whether they make it on. Um,
Randomly, a little tangent for you. I saw him in, I think, my first or second week of being in Australia when I moved here. And I was like, oh, he was just walking down the street with a couple of bodyguards. And I was like, oh, wow. I just thought people just saw Mel Gibson all the time. And then I found out he doesn't live in Australia anymore. He actually lives in the US. So it
have
was really
you
random.
have you
Yeah.
ever seen Paul Hogan? I presume you're just
Yeah.
like all Australian stars that just walking
Just
around.
hanging around. There was a
Yeah.
couple of I haven't seen Paul Hogan. Mel Gibson, surprisingly, he was actually, I mean, he was a reasonable age then. So it was about 9 years ago. And he looked still like pretty well built, but he was a lot shorter than I thought he would be. So that was interesting. No, I have met Chris
Always.
Hemsworth. He was
Yeah,
a very nice
had
legend.
that on
But
Insta.
yes, yeah, yeah. But not met Paul Hogan yet. Not yet. It's still to come. Maybe in the top half.
To come. Maybe, maybe in the top.
It'll
50.
be a special.
Maybe
guest.
there's a Paul Hogan movie in the top 50.
God, I hope so.
Who knows?
Crocodile Dundee 2. Yeah.
You like the sequel rather than the original?
Well, no, I don't think so. The original's bad. The sequel's bad. Yeah.
Well, we'll have we've also got next season. Right. We need to get to work.
All right.
Thank you very much. Good review. If you can get those updated on the website, that'd be great. And we'll see you next week for the next film on the list.